welcome to Reality Hour. For the last time of 2019, I am Adam Samuel. Today, we are doing our yearly wrap-up podcast where we're going to kind of go through some of the shows that we watched this year, and we're going to go over some of the big things, the big moments. Joining me for this podcast is my co-host, Eric. How you doing today, Eric?
I'm doing good. This is not going to top our last episode, but we're going to try our best.
Yeah, Eric is actually not in his current location. He's actually vacationing. So how are you enjoying your vacation so far?
I'm wearing short sleeves, so I'm in California, so I'm happy.
In the dead of winter. Well, not the dead of... When's the dead of winter?
Dead of winter here, but... Or where you are, it's dead of winter.
All right. So, like I said, this is a bit of a... We're not going to talk about in-depth about every show. We might kind of go over some points from each. I personally put together a list of all the shows that we talked about, whether in depth or kind of maybe had some references to. And there's some performances that I really liked, some that I liked for maybe not good reasons. But how we're going to structure this is we are going to kind of go over some broad strokes, I guess, about all the shows. We'll kind of touch on all of them a little bit, just like some references, some big moments. And then at the end, we will, I'm sorry, not at the end, but after that, we will go over our 5 favorite performances of the year. And then at the end, I guess we'll do some broader questions, superlatives, favorite, judge, all that kind of good stuff.
I didn't even think of favorite judge. Can I say none of them?
All right. So, weirdly enough, I feel like our list of shows that we kind of touch on this year is, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shows that we kind of touched on this year, either full coverage or kind of more broad strokes. But I'm going to call this year a bit mixed. I think there were some good moments, a lot of bad. There's one glaring kind of black mark on the year of shows. But did you, straight off the bat, Eric, did you have a favorite show that we kind of touched on?
Favorite show we touched on? See, if you told me at the beginning of the year that AGT Champions would be my favorite show we touched on this year, I would have laughed in your face.
It'd also be really sad. I will actually disagree with you. That was not my personal favorite season. For me, honestly, as many faults as it is, American Idol will still hold that title. Just for me, on a personal note, it was not the best season, but I will almost always pick it over the overproduction of America's Got Talent, anything.
Okay.
So yeah, here's how I think we are going to structure this. So we're going to we'll go in chronological order of the season that happened. So yeah, you mentioned America's Got Talent, the champions. So this was the first time we ever saw a show kind of like this, where I would have said going into it, I would have been very hyped for the show. And in my opinion, how I would have put it is that it wasn't as good as it could have been. It could have been so much better.
It could have been fantastic, but it was just the least bad show of the year for me.
Yeah, the problem I feel, and they corrected it a little bit on Britain's Got Talent, or was it? No, it might have been the upcoming season of the Champions, where they kind of don't just have 1-2 acts go through.
Yeah,
like that. Just
the leaks for this season of Champions is that they're fixing some of the format issues, which is good. I think not the worst format issue, but the super fans are still there. But
super fans, I think it's going kind of like there's another round. Like instead of it just being 2 performances, which is head and shoulders above where we were last January, but I feel you could still go a little bit better. Like. Yeah. It's just so cool to kind of see the people from these shows in the past, and they kind of make it like a cameo where they just kind of show up, they're like, hi, and then bye. Like that's it.
I was the thing.
But I guess I wanted to ask you, did you have it doesn't have to be a performance or just a favorite moment from America's Got Talent Champions?
Well, I'm gonna give a performance actually because it's an honorable mention. Of mine. It's not on my top 5 list necessarily. It's Darcy Lynn doing opera.
What was the performance again? It was so long ago. It was
just her singing an opera song for her puppet, and I was like, after I saw the leaks year in 2018 that said that Darcy and Shinlin were the top two, and after Darcy sang opera with her mouth shut, I thought that she was going to win, because for me it was insane to watch that happen.
For me, I actually have a moment that I think, first of all, Darcy should have won that season, which might be a little bit controversial with I know how high you've been on Shinlin, but I would have given it to Darcy.
It's a toss-up for me. I didn't care which of them won.
I also did want to kind of give a mention to the return of Susan Boyle. I wrote that on my list. Yes, it kind of soured a little bit later on, but in the moment, I thought that was a really cool thing for me, just to see that kind of moment of having a contestant like that kind of come back.
Ooh, forgot. My favorite one was actually Piff the Magic Dragon.
Of course.
Sorry.
I gotta say, like, on paper, it had like a great cast. Like, there was Tate Face, there was Piff the Magic Dragon. They had like really, like, I'm just looking through some of the names of the contestants. You had Paul Potts, you had Darcy Oak, you had Taylor Williamson, Light Balance. Like, it was just such a, everything on paper works, and it should have worked, but it kind of flopped because a bit of the format.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we got our final two of Shinlim and Darcy. Shinlim ends up winning it. Back-to-back wins, which is pretty insane. But yeah. Anyway, any other kind of big moments you wanted to touch about the show? Because honestly, it started out the strongest and kind of left with a little bit of a whimper, in my opinion.
Yeah, sort of.
All right, well.
It was the least bad show this year for me, but let's move on to another show.
From America's Got Talent, The Champions, we go to my favorite season of the year, which is American Idol season 17/2.
Don't dare say season 2. It's season 17.
All right, it's season 17, and definitely one of the weaker seasons of American Idol.
I'm going to take it a step further than you. I think it was the weakest one I've watched in years.
No, not as bad as season 12.
Season 12 had 5 good people in it.
Who are the bottom 2 on that list?
What?
Who are the bottom 2 on the 5 people list? I could guess the top 3 were Candace,
all 5
Angie.
Were good.
Oh, only the girls. I was a big Janelle Arthur fan that season. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if I would put it. I think it would be in the bottom 4 for me. But there is, like American Idol, what I love so much about the show is it's overproduced, but it's not overproduced to hell. You know, like there's I do feel like of all these shows on this list, this is the one show where the contestants actually have the free will. At least I like to think they do, to kind of make their own run, and they're not, unless they're, you know, like suggest forced performances. But I feel like it's a bit more of a natural show, and it doesn't have as many cringy moments of every other show on this list.
I think you're looking back on it in a much more positive light because it's been so long. This season of Idol was a nightmare.
I mean, I put down, for the end of the show, we put down we have our 5 favorite performances of the season. For me, 3 of them came from the show, from American Idol this year. And not only that, but we had some really good performances. I want to give a shout out to my favorite 3 performers, I just want to say, of the season were Alejandro, who Eric is going to very much disagree. He just until the live shows, he was like batting a perfect game, and then it all kind of flubbed out from there. But I did appreciate his good run or not. I enjoyed watching his run, if that makes sense.
Next.
So that there, like I said, 3 standouts. I would give it 1 to Alejandro. Wait, before we move on, one more point. I feel like Alejandro does. Yes, he didn't have a good streak, but I think the fact that he's arguably the biggest star to come from the show
in 2 years.
A couple of years, and he's doing pretty well. Like,
Yeah, so good for him.
He is. He will be the legacy of the season, and I think that
unquestionably so.
You can say what you want about his performances on the show, and I agree. It wasn't the best.
I will.
But the legacy, I think, will be the kindest to Alejandro moving forward. Yeah. Anyway, that being said, my other standout I want to give it to, of course, it's going to be Lacey K. Booth. And obviously, one of her performances is going to be on my favorites at the end. And the third, Jeremiah Lloyd-Harmon. I feel like those three are the big ones, in my opinion, that they're the ones I remembered right off the bat when I was thinking of the season. What about you?
For me, Jeremiah was in a total league of his own. Having seen him live 3 times now, it's even more ridiculous that he didn't win.
When I was watching, I watched back a couple of clips. I went through the YouTube pages of both, and there were 2 other contestants that I kind of want to touch on just briefly, if ever so, for the American Idol season. One of them was Eddie Island, because I watched the performance where he's wearing a skin Muppet. Do you remember that one? It was like Benny and the Jets, and he was wearing a dress that like this weird like Elton John thing, but
it looked like it was performance. I don't remember what his outfit was. I remember the performance was on.
It looked like his shirt was like it skinned a Muppet. Like it was just like we talked about this. You remember it? Come on, I'm gonna.
Okay.
No, come on. No.
I don't, honestly. Right. I kind of wiped that one from my memory.
And the other performer who I did just want to give a shout out to, who I hope we might see maybe on this coming season, I don't know. Shay was a big standout for me. Do you remember her?
Yeah, I liked her.
She was very talented. Otherwise, ironically enough, Lane Hardy, I think he's honestly... just looking through my list, I think he might be the weakest winner
of any of the shows.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's
I'm not gonna say I think. I'm gonna say
no. Yeah, he's in the bottom.
He's at the bottom.
Yeah. Otherwise, from the season, I think Madison. I was just not a fan of her this year. Like I wanted to like her. She kind of had like all the makings, but she was the one that I feel like the producers kind of turned into something different, right?
Yeah, I don't think that was a problem with Madison. It was song choices.
But. I don't know, but did you have any other big things you wanted to talk about from Idol?
Honestly, no. I want to move on to the other shows that I like better.
Maybe we should stay here, because from this point on, it gets really bad.
Actually, I'd say I'm not sure which season I hated more this year.
Yeah, as a whole,
Idol was tailor-made to annoy me. X Factor at least had some semblances of decency.
No, that was just entertainment.
Okay.
In a bad way.
Looking back on it, I'm less negative on X Factor than I was. Okay, let's move on.
All right, well, American Idol was good. I am very much looking forward to the new season. It's weird where by this point we usually
forward to the new season as well.
By this point we usually have spoilers, and we've heard pretty much nothing. And I've actually been throwing this idea around in my head. I'm very much considering, for the first time since season 10, I think I'm going to go into the season blind. I think I'm not going to look at the spoiler list. I'm going to...
I'll do the same. We'll do the same. We'll both do that. We'll do an experiment this year.
I do, but then I also know people are going to tweet me with the results, and there's going to be a post on a couple of sites, and I'm going to get and then the show, I don't know, but it's an idea I'm kind of toying with. I don't know if I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to try. I almost hope that spoilers don't leak, but
we'll see.
We'll see. It's just the fact that it's so late, that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we talked about two shows that I think they're they had a bit of a wobbly start. They passed the finish line, but they kind of face planted a few times along the way. But they had some moments in there that were really enjoyable. And I think the next season that we're going to talk about does a bit follow suit. It's America's Got Talent we're going to talk about, and I only have one name kind of written down on my highlights list. I did it by like names and big moments to talk about, and I think the only major takeaway from the season is the winner is Cody Lee. What did you think about the season as a whole, or Cody, whichever you want to talk about?
Well, we kind of have to also address the elephant in the room again, which is that the season did not end well for Simon and Gabrielle and all the controversy with that. So the season it didn't age well this season of America's Got Talent, I'll put it that way. But honestly, at the time, I wasn't a huge fan of the season that much either. I mean, I thought season 13 of AGT was better than this season. I will say the highlight for me was Ryan E. Miller, the comedian that I loved so much. And I'm seeing him live in March, and I'm super excited about that. But other than him, honestly, this season was kind of a dud for me.
Very much a dud. So I'm just going through like the names. I mean, we had V Unbeatable as the runner-up, and we will actually
They weren't the runners-up. They were in fourth.
They were. Who was the runner-up?
Detroit Youth Choir.
Oh, I didn't even remember that. I didn't remember. Like, when I put together my list, I was just writing who I thought remembered like right off the bat. No one the only name I remembered from this season was Cody Lee. But I'm looking through like the YouTube page. We had Sophie Pecora, we had Eric Chen, we had who else? Benicio.
Chris Clafford was one of my favorites. He's on my honorable mentions list.
Light Balance Kids also, they were pretty good. Good. But overall, Dom Chambers, but yeah. Seth Word, who I hope comes back. But like anyway, like I was saying, overall, there's not much here to take from this. This is the point I feel like where the show has just gone beyond overproduction, where it's just so.
I think that was 2 years ago, honestly. But
I think the cracks are if the cracks weren't showing before, they're now abundantly clear. Like it's
they were showing 2 years ago, but it's just as bad as it was 2 years ago.
I don't know.
The second one they started doing with slow-mo for the Golden Buzzer was when the show kind of jumped the shark.
The thing is, I'm thinking, when was, for me, peak America's Got Talent? Like, when was everything working right? And there was only one season in my mind that really sticks out of being that great.
Season 10?
I don't remember which season it was. It was the season where Kenichi won.
That's season 8.
No, actually, Kenichi, and I would put also the season with Matt. God, what was his name?
Matt Franco.
Matt Franco.
That's what season 9 was your favorite. Okay.
No, I mean, my favorite was Kenichi season. I will 100% stand by. The top 6 of that season is the best talent. Even now, years later, I think I could probably name every single act. There was Kenichi, Taylor Williamson, Collins Key, who went on to start a ridiculously popular YouTube channel that I watched about 30 seconds of and wanted to never turn on a computer ever again. There was Forte, there was Kemi Bradley, and one other person who I'm forgetting. But that was 5 out of 6, and that season was
good for you.
God knows how many years ago. But otherwise, on America's Got Talent, did you have any major performances that really stuck out for you?
I liked Chris Crawford's Joe's Cuts performance of the original song that he did. I liked that. I've listened to that a lot. And Ryan E. Miller's semifinal set was one of my favorite sets.
I was not the biggest fan of Ryan E. Miller's, but
I know you were. That's okay. You can be wrong sometimes.
I can be wrong sometimes. I did really enjoy Cody Lee's performance of "You Are the Reason" because I'd never heard that song before.
But with Leo know was his best performance. Yeah.
I didn't think I went back. I don't think she was as good as I remember. Like there were some awkward moments there. I personally really much more liked the solo performance. And I also wanted to kind of give a shout out to, as much as this show kind of claims to be a variety show, the big stars are almost always the singers. I really enjoyed one act who was kind of the exact opposite, Marcin, who was just him and a guitar.
He was amazing, yeah.
So for me, those are the two standouts, Cody and Marcin. But otherwise, I mean, forgettable is how I would really put the season, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of America's Got Talent. I guess is there any other big things you want to talk about from it?
Not really.
Well, the other show is one that we actually didn't. I don't think we really covered it here on Reality Hour, but I do kind of want to give a bit of a mention to it because I do actually have a couple of notes. Britain's Got Talent, the champions.
Yeah, we covered it slightly. We didn't cover it in depth.
We did some of it, and from this season, I will say one performance is on my top 5 at the end of the year. But what did you kind of think about the season?
I thought it was really lackluster, honestly. It was America's Got Talent, all the problems with the format, but none of the amazing acts.
With some exceptions, there were some.
There were a few. There were a few good acts, but
in fact, one of them I might put for my favorite of the year. Honestly,
really.
Yeah. I do have 3 names to kind of touch on really quickly. Connie Talbot. That's pretty cool to see. Like the last time she was on the show, she was like 5, not even, and now it was just really cool to kind of see that transition. Her, Bars and Melody, who we're also going to see on America's Got Talent, the champions this coming season, and the other act, George Sampson was a bit of a big moment, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Did you have any kind of big moments from the show?
Paul Zerden.
As always.
Lost Voice guy was good to see again. All the comedians that I liked.
It's funny. I remember that Twist and Pulse won, but I don't remember even who made the finale.
I do.
The Stormtroopers made it, right?
Yeah, they were 3rd.
Who was the runner-up?
Stavros Flatley.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's kind of all I have from Britain's Got Talent. Only 2 other shows, and from this point, this is when we go really bad. And honestly, most of the people I have written down are for like not for good things, like not for good performances. But the big one to kind of talk about here is the X Factor UK Celebrity Edition. So I will say that as bad of a season as it was, it arguably produced the best winner.
Of the year?
Of the year.
I'm not even going to say arguably. I'm just going to say it produced the best winner of the year.
Which is so strange. It's so funny how these shows work, where kind of everything can go bad, but there can still be that one thing.
Not the best contestant of the year, but the best winner.
It's like, imagine this is a race. Like all these shows are little runners trying to cross the finish line. You have American Idol that's like stumbling every so often, but it's going. And then you have like the X Factor UK that's just rolling. Like it's just rolling, but then it gets to the end of the finish line and it stands up and it's like, I did it, and it somehow beat everyone else. That's kind of how it is, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Does that metaphor make any sense?
It's probably the most nonsensical metaphors we've had of the year, but that's good. Let's keep them coming.
I'm just saying because it had so many fumbles, but at the end it had one shining thing, and
now that you explain it more, actually, it kind of is a little bit better than I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah. I can explain it again. You see, the shows are running a race. Anyway, so I have 4 kind of names that I put for the big takeaways. 3 of them are for not great things, but the big one is Megan. Megan, who is the best winner of these shows. I was thinking that maybe you might put her and Cody Lee. I think Cody Lee and her are probably the top. No, her, Shin Lim, Cody. How would that ranking even work out? What?
For me, it's Megan number 1, Shin Lim number 2, only because Shin Lim already won last year. And Shin Lim is the best winner of the year, but only because. But if we're not talking about people who've won the show in the past, then Megan's the best winner of the year.
Yep. I also have on my list Jenny Ryan, just for. I feel like if there's 2 words to put for her run on the show, it would be she tried. That's kind of what I've got. She tried.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I've also got Martin Bashir, who, my God, what a run, Eric.
But we have to talk about Vinny. Vinny is the one we have to talk about.
Vinny's the last one I had. I had Megan, Jenny, Martin, and Vinny. Those are my 4 names that I came away from the season with.
Vinny in particular. The voting stats, we talked about them, right? How ridiculous those were.
Beyond ridiculous.
Vinny got like second place a couple times, right?
There is a universe where he could have won.
Yep.
The less said about this season, I will say, the better. But did you have any kind of big moments you wanted, or contestants you really wanted to give a shout out or mention?
Well, I want to give a shout out to well, obviously Megan's performance of this was my favorite of the year. I mean, favorite performance from her and from X Factor this year, but well, not from X Factor this year. We'll get there. At least the right person won, and won by a lot. I'll say that.
Fair enough. Anything else for the X Factor?
Nope.
All right. Well, really quickly, the last show is kind of ironically also one of the lesser covered shows that we really touch on, but it is The Masked Singer. So we actually were going to do a podcast kind of covering it, but we're going to kind of lump it in here. So we got the final results. Eric, who was the winner of The Masked Singer?
Wayne Brady.
Yep. Ironically, poor Chris Daughtry, man.
Well, at least he got second, not fourth.
He beat Patti LaBelle in a sing-off.
He deserved to win this show.
He very much deserved to win the show. And yeah, for me, I put down one name from the season, and it's pretty obvious. It's Chris Daughtry was the star of The Masked Singer 2019, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm just going to jump right into it. My favorite performance of the year from any of these shows was Daughtry singing Alive.
It was actually it's like on iTunes, and it's doing well.
It's charting,
which is pretty insane. Like, you never see like celebrity covers of. It's not even like the song's only 2 years old. It's a Sia song. Like it's
a Sia song,
and it's pretty crazy that
it did so well for him.
I've never seen that happen. Like another singer, like a big name, kind of covering another like recent. It's not even that old. But yeah, Chris Daughtry was the star of the show. Do you have you been hearing anything about the upcoming season? It's on a dual cycle, so we're gonna have 2 seasons next year.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, we'll probably touch on it a bit while we're talking about Idol and stuff. Maybe, who knows?
All right. Well, otherwise, that's kind of what I've personally got from the names. Those are all the names I touched on are kind of the big takeaways, the ones that really stood out to me. I guess at this point we'll kind of go ahead and do our top 5 favorite performances.
But first, our favorite non-singing performances of the year. I edited this part because the non-edited version kind of rambled and made no sense.
My favorite non-singing performance of the year was Shin Lim reprising the Dream Act on AGT Champions. Does it matter that I've seen him perform it in 2018 and on Penn and Teller's show years ago? No. Because honestly, this act is so impressive. I could watch it a million times and still be blown away by it. He's a masterful magician. He earned my title.
It just still, to this day, blows my mind that he went from winning America's Got Talent
to winning America's Got Talent. Yeah, that's impressive.
It's absurd in a way, but like absurd like in a good way. But yeah, Shin Lim. Who was even the runner-up against him in his original season?
It was Zucchero.
Oh right. So many names. There's so many. It's weird. I used to always be able to remember like every name from every contestant, every show. As the net of shows that I watch, it just gets harder and harder. But yeah, Shin Lim was awesome. I can't say if I were to keep going, it would just be like a record machine, like just spinning out the same thing. All right, so this is my personal number 1. It's ironically enough Britain's Got Talent, the Champions. George Sampson's performance that got him cut. Mm-hmm. It was just on a personal note, like the rare moments that makes me like these shows like a lot, that like jolts me back into like the fan that I was like as a kid watching these. That performance of his when it was kind of going between all the different stages of the performance, it just
That was a damn good performance.
It hit me, and it, like I said, it's my favorite of the year. Like over singers, over dancers and dogs and cats. Like it was, it to this. I think it is the performance I'm gonna come away from the year with. Like it was the biggest moment for me. Did you think so?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't my absolute favorite because I wasn't connecting with it as much as you were, but it was definitely a really strong performance. Can't take it away from that.
And he was cut.
Yep.
How did that happen?
Super fans. That's how.
How did who ended up making it through that week? I don't even remember.
I don't remember either.
Oh, was that the week with Bello Knock?
I don't know. It wasn't.
All right. Well, George Sampson in my headcanon would have won that season.
Okay.
All right. So now we are going to go top 4 singing performances. I'll pass the baton over to you, Eric. Who do you got?
Number 4, Megan McKenna. This.
For me, Megan.
Or the second time. The first time was good. The second time was better.
All of Megan's performances, as good as they are kind of a little samey for me. Like they are kind of ballads, story ballads, and they did kind of run together. But Megan is undoubtedly the best singer to come from the seasons. Tell me why you picked it.
Because it's going to be her first single next year when she re-records it in the studio, is what she said. So, just that's why.
You don't get the race metaphor?
I get it. When you explain it, I got it. It's like
right.
Everything goes poorly, but then you end up winning. Yeah.
So I'll be honest. I was going to put Martin Bashir's Easy at number 4 just because of how show-stopping it was. But I'm not. I'm going to. I'm not. I'm going to toss it and replace it with something that I've done on the fly. So this is not the performance I'm replacing it with, though. But I will say in 4th place, Alejandro Aranda. As much as Eric did not enjoy him, his audition show performance of Out Loud on the guitar, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's in my top 3, the performances that I've gone back to the most from the season, and it's absurd to me that it's the American Idol. As much as I don't like to say this, I feel like American Idol is still a little bit on the decline. And I feel like this performance kind of was like an America's Got Talent performance where it goes ridiculously viral. And it not just goes viral, but it goes viral like on regular terms. Like on American Idol, 1 million views is considered viral. Remember Angie Miller? She got like 1 million views on one performance and everyone was like, oh my God, she's going to win. Alejandro got like 16 million. Like that's America's Got Talent viral, in my opinion.
Okay.
Did you like his audition performance?
I don't like talking about negative things.
Not even the audition?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
I love that performance. I still listen to it. I bought the song. I really like it.
I'm glad people like him because the show needs someone to be successful.
All right. And on that note, I'm going to toss it back to you. Who do you have? We're up to 3. Who's in 3rd?
Jeremiah Lloyd Harmon, Almost Heaven.
I have a Jeremiah Lloyd Harmon song, so I guess I'm going to actually, on that note, I'm going to throw in my hat also and say To Make You Feel My Love would have been my number 3 performance. How did he get 6th?
Crime. It's a crime that he didn't win.
It was... I
will say. So, at the end of Idol, when we talked about it, I put a different performance from Jeremiah as my favorite of the year.
Was it the one I did?
No, it was not. It was Who Wants to Live Forever was the one that I originally had my favorite. But since then, I've heard Almost Heaven live 3 times, and every time I hear it, I get chills. So I can't deny that his first single was the best performance of American Idol 2017 in my view. Full stop.
All right, hypothetical situation. In a different universe, Jeremiah Lloyd Harmon wins American Idol. it is now Jeremiah and Megan in a sing-off. Who is getting Eric's vote?
100% Jeremiah. 100%. Not even close. He would have been the best winner this year if he had won.
Of the series?
No, not of the series, but of the year. Jeremiah was my favorite winner if he had won.
I was about to say, like, whoa. It sounded like series.
No, not quite that good.
Yeah, Jeremiah, he played like an old school Idol game. Like, I feel like you can't really use that term with American Idol nowadays. You could in the old days, where it's, as much as it's also a singing competition, it's also a game, in my opinion. And I feel like he played it smart. Like, he knew what to do, and it all fell apart for reasons I still can't fathom. And I think he should have won.
Yep.
All right. So we got 2 performances left from each of us. I have a feeling that one of them is going to be the same. So these 2 were kind of interchangeable for me, but I'm going to say The Masked Singer, Chris Daughtry, Alive. Big song. I think the performance of the season from The Masked Singer, not even a question.
I would agree. For me, it's a toss-up, honestly, what my number 1 favorite is. If I can I include a guest performance on the list?
Sure.
Okay, then that changes the game. Because, honestly, I love Daughtry's Alive, but I'm going to put it as number 2 of my favorites.
Oh, so that's where I put it.
If you told me before Adam and I started covering Masked Singer that I would put a performance from a show as my top 2, as my second favorite of the entire year, let alone in the top 5 or even the top 10, I would have asked you what you were smoking. But Daughtry being on the show kind of changed the game. And he said in a recent interview that he hates hearing it, but I don't care. He's now been robbed twice on Fox reality competitions.
I think he carried that show. Like,
yeah,
he very much, like, it was all on his shoulders.
On paper, The Masked Singer is everything I hate about all the different reality shows in one show. But I'll probably watch it again.
Overproduction.
Judges interrupting performances. Short songs.
The ridiculousness of it.
Yes, everything about it on paper is awful. But I if there's another contestant that's like Daughtry, I'll be watching it again next season.
This, like I said, my top 3 because the order is a little bit messed up, I would have put George Sampson number 1, Chris Daughtry, and this performance kind of interchangeable after that. Lacey K. Booth, I miss you, of course. No surprise here, right, Eric?
No one knew it's no surprise, but if yeah.
She might have been one of my favorite contestants personally, like on a personal level of the season. She had some flops, but this was definitely not one of them. I love contestants who do this. Like, it gave me hints of Jax. Like when they take a song, Eric shuts his eyes and winces, and as I go into this, I love those contestants that somewhere between Lacey K. Booth and Alejandro Aranda, if you smush them together, like they would have been the perfect contestant.
No.
No. Why am I wrong?
The opposite person, because one of them needs to have a good voice to make it a perfect contestant.
Lacey has a good voice.
No, she has a very weak voice.
You shut your mouth.
She has a nice tone, but she doesn't have a strong voice.
Eric, leave Lacey alone. Leave her alone. That was a reference.
I know it's a reference, Adam.
So
on the internet.
All right. Well, who's your number 1 of the entire year? It has all come to this. Eric's number 1 favorite performance of the year.
My number 1 favorite performance of the year was Dalton Harris singing "Cry."
That was a guest performance.
You said I could include it.
All right, go ahead. Tell me why.
2 years in a row, Dalton's given my favorite performance on a reality show. 2 years in a row. He's a beast. This was the best performance of the entire year. Any show.
He's also on my draft.
Yes, he was. I don't care. He. Have you seen this performance, Adam?
If I did, I don't remember it. There were a lot of performances this year.
It was on X Factor, but banned.
Oh, I didn't watch the band.
Yeah. So it was a guest performance on the final X Factor of the band. The show was kind of terrible. We didn't cover it. It wasn't good. But my God, this performance was worth watching that entire show for. It was
Really?
Yeah. You need to see this performance. Dalton is in a league of his own, as far as I'm concerned. The fact that I'm putting him above Daughtry says it all.
All right, I will take your word for it. But there you have it. There's kind of our favorite performances. Like I said, for me, I had to put him at the start, but George Sampson would have been my number one, followed by Lacey K. Booth and Daughtry, then Jeremiah and Alejandro. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of the shows itself. Do you have, of the coming year, Eric, do you have a show you're most kind of looking forward to?
X Factor, because it's coming back to the normal format. Fingers freaking crossed.
Well, I would have liked an all-star season, like maybe.
No. Just go back to what we had in season 15. Go back to that. Stick with that. We'll be happy.
All right. Well, I guess we could kind of do some kind of awards, I guess you could say, of the year to close our show out. I was going to ask who's your favorite judge, but I think that's a bit of a hard question to ask. So I'm going to say, who is your favorite panel?
That's also a hard question.
They're all really hard.
Let's see.
And also keep in mind that Simon Cowell is on 1, 2, 3, 4 of them.
Yep. I'm going to say my favorite panel was X Factor the band.
Okay.
Because it was Simon.
I didn't watch it. I don't know.
It was Simon Cowell, Nicole Scherzinger, and Leona Lewis.
All right.
Because it's a decent X Factor panel because Louis Walsh isn't on it. So
for me, I'm going to say American Idol.
Really?
Because let me explain. It doesn't have Simon Cowell. It doesn't have Howie Mandel. And every single panel here is absolutely awful.
Yes. But
the fact that the Masked Singer would be after that it says a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, there's one picture that I think I tweeted about where they had like the final three like standing on stage, and as they're like celebrating, there's the clip ends with Luke
like, breathing in front of the camera. That's when we say best editing moment of the year goes to that.
Yep.
That's of the year is that 100%.
It's not so much that I'm giving the award; it's that I'm not giving the award to someone else. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So another question I had, which is, as much as we give out our favorite performances for the best performance, let's kind of do the opposite for a second and do the favorite performance for bad reasons. And I'm actually not going to put Martin, as you might suspect.
Really?
There's another contestant I want to touch on, who I hope we will see on the next season of America's Got Talent.
You're going to put Seth Ward there? Really?
It is Seth Ward. Because, my God.
Okay.
What about you? What would you say would be the most memorable performance, but for a bad reason, I guess would be the name for it?
For me, it wasn't Martin. It was Vinny.
Which one?
The Lip Up Fatty song.
Is it the one where he... Oh. Eric, I'd forgotten that one. Now you made me remember it.
That was the closest we had to like a Wagner level bad performance.
Oh God. Anyway, do you have any other kind of awards you wanted to hand out? Most improved show? Does anyone? That's actually a good question. The most improved contestant who had the best arc over the course of these shows.
Best arc. There weren't any really good arcs this year, honestly.
It was Megan because she stayed on top and didn't move.
Yeah, basically.
All right. Well, any other things you want to talk about from the year?
Favorite. Can we do favorite host?
Ryan Seacrest. It will always be Ryan Seacrest. It will
Dermot
never.
O'Leary.
What?
Dermot.
All right. Well, Ryan will never not be my favorite of these shows. He is.
Okay.
When I started watching the show, he is the only constant. Not just this show, but all with. There's actually one other exception. He who shall not be named. But there's Ryan is the only one other than that one other person who has stuck through it all the way, who is still on TV from those episodes that I started at the beginning. And it holds a special place in my heart.
Okay.
The other person is Howie, who he can go.
He wasn't there from the start.
For me, from when I started watching it.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Well, otherwise, any other final thoughts, Eric?
Not too many. So we're going to be back for AGT Champions Season 2.
When does that start?
In less than 2 weeks.
All right. Well, Reality Hour will be the first show we will be covering here. I'm personally looking forward to it, although I am also really looking forward to American Idol. Maybe we should do the blind, going into it blind.
We should.
I want to, like, on paper, I would really want to, but I'm also like, I would also be like, I want to know. You know, it's like having a present and you can't open it.
How about this? Here's a compromise. You can't watch any previous performances from anyone before the show starts. But you can look up the names of the top 20.
Oh, I wouldn't be able to hold myself back. We'll see. We will. American Idol is coming back. I think, is it early February?
Early February, I think. Yeah.
All right. I started the show saying it was a mixed bag. It was kind of like the bottom, like on the spectrum of mixed bags, it's on the bottom.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't a good year. But the good news is next year will look better by comparison.
Anything will look better by comparison.
Let's just leave it at the positive part. Next year will look better by comparison.
What happens if next year, it's 2020, we're doing our year wrap up, and we go, man,
we're doing it the days of 2019. That'd be awful. Don't even make that. Don't put that at the end of the universe.
All right.
It could happen.
One final thing to end the show. What is, Eric, your bold prediction for TV shows of 2020? And I'm going to start off by saying this is my bold prediction of the year. Simon Cowell will not be a judge on America's Got Talent after this season. That is my bold prediction. That's a hard thing.
Really bold prediction.
Aren't they talking about maybe getting him out of there?
No, they're not.
Well, it is my bold prediction. Maybe not a bold prediction, but a hope.
Okay. I have much better hopes than that. But my bold prediction is that I'm gonna pick one I really hope doesn't come true, which is that Idol does not get renewed for season 4.
Wow. You really don't think it will?
I really hope I'm wrong.
If it is, then that's just kind of it. Like, I don't think it comes back from that. I think it'll be back.
I hope I'm right. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's back, but that's my prediction.
All right, well.
On that, Buzzkill. See you all next year.
Ain't I a stinker? I'm Adam Samuel. Thank you for watching us, for subbing. If you made it this far in this podcast, you get a thumbs up, and I can say that you can find me on Twitter at Adam Soapbox, or on the two websites, adamsoapbox.com and adamcvblog.com, which I haven't updated in like a year, but I'm going to say it anyway because I've memorized it in my head. But where can we find you, Eric?
EricAscher.com, Eric_Ascher on Twitter, and I have a YouTube channel, which is linked to below.
Until next time, we will see you in 2020. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the podcast. And until next time, peace.